Hi, I'm Pam Olsen. It's really a pleasure and my honor to be on this stage again with you all, spending your weekend, your valuable time here. These beautiful faces, smiling souls. I just can't believe how honored I feel to be here and how privileged this is. So thank you very much. And this will be a very brief talk, but I do have a lot of text, and I'll tell you why. This is not an attempt to escape my story, except I had the privilege of sharing my story yesterday. And what I really want to emphasize is that there are so many heroic stories we have heard in this room already this weekend. I'm telling you, I am in awe. I mean, Dr. PK, we have Mega, we just followed Cindy, her journey. I mean, you're all heroes. You're all heroes. Do you understand? Do you really believe that? Because do you understand that about your life? Really? Okay, because that's what I'm here to explain to you. I want to teach. I want to show you how that really is the truth. And I'm going to share with you from the teachings of a very, I think he's one of the dearest men that has lived in our generation anyway, or just a little bit beyond my generation, a little bit forward, but Joseph Campbell. Everybody familiar? Anybody? Okay. Everybody like? Okay. Me, I love. Okay. So this is my honor to share his teachings, to help you all, to show you how your journey has in fact been the hero's journey. If you don't already know that, when you leave this room, my objective is to make sure that you see your life through a new prism. Okay? I want everybody in here to promise me to try to see through the prism of the hero. Okay? All right, so here we go. So who likes stories? Everybody likes stories? Yeah? You love stories? Do you like movies? Adventure? Quests? I think quest, what a great word, right? A quest. Who wants to be on a quest? Who doesn't want to be on a quest? Really? I mean, is there anybody here that doesn't want to be on a quest? I do. I was born to be on a quest. So here's the deal. Through these teachings, which again I will share with you in text form because I'm gonna talk to you about each of these slides. But the magic is actually in the language. So I really want to share the language with you of Joseph Campbell, if you don't mind. Is that okay with everybody? All right. So I'm going to go through this a little bit with you, and I want to talk to you just a little bit why mythology. Does everybody understand mythology is not just a fairy tale? Really? It's kind of complicated to understand how mythology plays in our lives, what it really means. But let's attempt to understand for a moment. Now I'm having Kelly's slide stubbornness. Here we go. All right, the hero with 1,000 faces. When Joseph Campbell explained the world's myths from a metaphorical point of view, everybody understands metaphor, yes? He was struck by the common themes that they shared. So all the great stories, all these wonderful stories, think of our modern day stories, whether we're talking about Odysseus and the journeys of Odysseus, or whether we're talking about Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz, right? Who doesn't love Cinderella? Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz, who doesn't love those stories, okay? What if that journey that Dorothy took, let's just take Dorothy by example, what if that journey was actually the heroic journey, the actual heroic story of our lives too, in metaphor? Yeah? It is. I'm going to show you how. Okay, let's go on. Not backwards, forwards. So Joseph Campbell demonstrated through his writing that dressed in 1,000 different masks, and you know we all wear 1,000 different masks anyway, right? And costumes, and given 1,000 different tasks to perform, the various heroes of all these stories, of all the world's myths, all undergo similar transformative journeys or quests. Yeah? Transformative. And that's your prism, okay? And neuropsychology has shown that if we're willing to look at our lives through any different perspective, even for a moment, that moment changes our brains so positively, okay? So take this journey with me now. If you haven't done it, think about your own life in these terms. Please. I guarantee you, I promise you, the outcome will be so dramatic for you. So although no hero experienced the journey in exactly the same way as any other, just like you've heard this weekend so far, the journeys follow a certain theme. There's always this call to adventure. There's always, you've heard, a lot of dark nights. A lot of people have gone through a lot of trials and tribulations. But this said, there's something we bring back to ourselves within, and even more delightfully, or as delightfully so, to the world. The treasure, the light. Our light shines brighter, and so does the world as a result, right? So that's the gift. It's the gift. It is a gift. It doesn't feel like a gift in the moment. It doesn't. But this life of school is a gift. So let's just move on through this little bit of explanation here. In all of the myths, or the journeys so-called, there's a call to adventure. So that's one of the themes, right? And the crossing of the threshold. So getting into the meat, so-called, of the adventure. And then we have the journey of the dark night of the soul. And there's the uncovering of the gift. And then we have the return home with the boon, or the bounty, the treasure. Okay, so those are the common themes. So let's talk about the call to adventure a little bit more, because it's your call, right? I'm the self-proclaimed soulvolutionist. My golden benefit is cultivating your calling, all right? And this call to adventure is what I want to call you all to here and now. If you don't feel that you've been called to it already, which you have, please know. But let's call to ourselves to this adventure. So fantastic quests do not happen in everyday life. Well, what does that really mean? It means that life is actually very extraordinary. We can make it really mundane. And yes, there are practical things we have to do. We have to park the car and go to the grocery store and da-da-da. Yeah, pick up the dry cleaning, whatever. All these things. But the quests of our life, this magical thread that weaves throughout our life, we're typically removed from our typical, or that's redundant, but our typical environment when we move into our hero's journey. Okay, so you'll feel something a little bit different is happening, and it'll seem a little uncertain, okay? There's going to be a reluctance. That's the next phase of this call to adventure. There's a reluctance maybe to this call. Maybe you can relate to that in your own life, where you felt called to something. I explained how that happened in my life yesterday. I felt a big call, and I didn't ignore it, because it was very painful to ignore it. It's very painful. But that said, security needs, mindset, limiting mindsets, all kinds of things that Susan Somerset, all the dears that have been on this stage have shared with you. But in any event, that reluctance is kind of part of the journey. So that's the cool thing, right? So don't beat yourselves up. The reluctance is part of this heroic journey that I'm talking about, okay? Usually there's some discovery event or some danger that starts them on their heroic path, right? Dorothy and the tornado. Yeah, the tornado, the Hobbit. The Hobbit has been a long time back for me, but Gandalf and the Wizard, probably the Wizard of Oz, some of you relate to that one. Yeah. So the next phase of the journey is accepting the call. And guess what? Here's some great things that happen here, and you're all experiencing that this weekend, and you've been experiencing that because you're here. You enter the unknown, but guess what? All kinds of helpers and aids start to show up. That's that resonance with the universe that Kelly and all these great speakers and teachers on the stage have been telling you about. They start to show up. They do. It's so awesome. So in these myths or the stories, we have the examples. For example, in The Hobbit, the ring is the help, yes? In Cinderella, the fairy godmother comes along, okay? In our adventure this weekend, Kelly, thank goodness, bless her soul, and all these beautiful speakers who've shared their journeys and stories with us that empower us, because now we can relate and say, my gosh, if they can tell their truth, so can I, and so can I live my life in this heroic manner, yes, of choice, right, of choice. Then there's the tests. Yeah, of course there's the tests. It's a supreme ordeal, but think about this, the dark night of the soul, the dark night into the abyss, comes the treasure. Just like I was telling you in my story yesterday, the moments I cherish in a way the most in my life have been the most difficult, and I think most of you will agree sometimes, we learn the most about ourselves and about life when we're going through a challenge, yeah? And especially a really tough challenge that rocks us, like the tornado through the living room of Dorothy's house. But it doesn't take a tornado, it doesn't have to. We can force it, a tornado. We can force that situation in our lives, really. And I think I did that to myself once in my life. But anyway, defeating the wicked witch, and there's this showdown. So we have a series of tests in this stage, a set of obstacles that make you stronger. My goodness, if Cindy Rodriguez-Kelly didn't talk to us enough about obstacles that make you stronger. I mean, I've never heard a person recently anyway tell me of so many obstacles and such a beautiful, beautiful story of overcoming them. Thank you, Cindy, wherever you are in this room. Thank you. Bless you, woman. Seriously, bless your heart. Yeah, we love you. Reward in the journey home, okay? So this is the great, great news. In that dark night, there's a reward. There's truly a reward for every ordeal and struggle that we're facing with our eyes open, with endurance, stamina, and strength. The examples are the Holy Grail, right? From mythology, we have the Holy Grail. We have the Philosopher's Stone. From any story, basically, you come back with wisdom, always wisdom. And what is greater than wisdom, really? I mean, I don't think, can you monetize wisdom? It's a greater gift than anything I can imagine on this planet. Maybe right up there with compassion, love, wisdom. I mean, I pray for wisdom and compassion. That's what I pray for myself. So restoring the world, this is the other thing about this heroic journey that you're on this weekend and that you've been on. You're going to bring bounty, and I know each one of you are going to pay this forward because that's what Kelly attracts in this room. That's what I'm going to do with this gift of being on this stage, okay? We pay it forward. In simple terms, we pay it forward. And we restore the world by doing that. We do. Okay? Don't lose hope. Do not lose heart. We restore the world by paying it forward. We do. Okay? Yeah. So just a little bit about this. And the good news is my lecture, I think, is only 15 minutes. So I would skip this slide other than truly, I'm not going to keep you in this room 1 second longer. But just a little bit more about this mythology thing, because why? You know, why talk about mythology? What does this really relate to in our lives? Well, here's the cool thing, really cool, I love this one. So the images of myth are reflections of the spiritual potential in every one of us. Yeah? The spiritual potential. Touch your chest right now, your heart. Spiritual potential. Is there anything greater than that? I don't know. I'm not sure what is. So by contemplating them, we evoke the powers in our own lives. That's pretty powerful, right? To invoke our own spiritual potential, to contemplate a story, especially our own stories in this heroic fashion. So the journey of the hero is the pivotal myth that unites the spiritual adventure of ancient heroes with our modern search for meaning. Well, you're talking to the why girl. I told you that yesterday. So you can see why this one excites me. I'm all about searching for meaning. Everything I do is about searching for the meaning and the why. So what is questing for? It is the fulfillment of that which is potential in each of us, just like I spoke to you about a second ago. It is not, I repeat, not an ego trip. It's not. Okay, that's good news. It's an adventure. That's great news. Great. So how does this apply to you? Thinking in mythological terms helps to put you in accord with the inevitable of this vale of tears. Life feels like a lot of suffering sometimes, right? It does. I know that. You learn to recognize the positive values in what otherwise appears to be the negative in your life. Okay? So through this heroic prison, you learn to recognize the positive values in what otherwise appears to be the negative in your life. And you see everybody was sowing those seeds through their stories. Did you hear it all this already this weekend? Everybody up here has presented a heroic journey to you. So the big question is this: whether you're going to be able to say a hearty yes to your adventure. Yeah? I know that. Dr. PK, I love you. So these are the signs. This is the last part of this, okay? These are the signs you're on your hero's journey. And I'm just going to give you a few because they're not necessarily obvious. Some of this comes from Joseph Campbell's writing, some of it comes from me, some of it comes from other people that I've cited. That's something about my work. I always cite to source when I talk about other work if I know it, if there's any way possible I can trace it back. But you're not going to feel ready for it when it comes, and that's okay. It's actually a component or a hallmark of being on the hero's journey. It's kind of the trademark. You know, you're too young, you're too old, you're not financially ready, you're not emotionally ready, you're not spiritually ready, you haven't learned enough, you don't know enough. Who has another one? Any other story? What are the things you tell yourself? Anybody have a quick one? Yell one out? Come on, somebody be brave. Yes, exactly. So the calling itself is your qualification. And Oprah Winfrey, and I'm pretty sure Oprah wasn't the first person to say this, but she summarized it nicely. The real work of our lives is to become aware and awakened, to answer the call. Cultivate your calling. So don't make fate blow a tornado through your living room to get your attention. Okay? We don't need a tornado in our living room, Dorothy, in Kansas, and whatever else happens. Your life begins to take on magical or supernatural qualities, and that's the truth. Things start to happen that you can't quite explain. I like to call them synchronicities. That's a term I like to use. They come in any forms. There's too numerous to list, but I think you know where I'm going with that one. As Mary Oliver said, just pay attention, be astonished, tell others. Yeah? Yeah. And don't be scared about this next one, okay, losing your grip. Because that's what happens before we reform and reconstruct. Now, please don't misunderstand. I'm not saying you destruct, okay? But we do, to reform ourselves after the hero's journey, we do lose our grip a little bit. Things change, things shift, things shake up. So tightly have been your fists around what is left of your old life, of the pre-called self, prior to the soul's call, that your fingertips have turned white. Yeah? Anybody else been on that white knuckle ride? No, I'm not ready. What once seems solid and true begins to warp and fade. Yesterday you needed those things. Today the universe teaches you that you don't. You don't. You don't, right? You can work from anywhere. My God, you can. Yeah. So the abyss has taken hold, and that's the good news, actually. It is by going down into the abyss that we've already talked about, the dark night of the soul, that we recover the treasures of life. Where you stumble, there lies your treasure. Can I say that again to you? Where you stumble, there lies your treasure. It's okay. It's really okay. So finally you're broken, but you're never broken. You know that. This is just linguistics, and don't get too alarmed by some of the writing. I love his writing personally, but don't get alarmed by that word. Finally, all of your defensives have been defeated, okay? Finally, you have no choice but to see all that you have clung to is finally meaningless, and that it could not save you. Finally, you have surrendered to the void. And I'll call the void the divine within you. I'll just go further and explain that to you. It's the divine within you. Dr. PK, you know that divine. I love your divinity, woman. You are ready to accept your transformation. The caterpillar cannot imagine what it feels like to feel like a butterfly, to fly like a butterfly. You think the caterpillar has any idea of its potential? Yeah. And ever so slowly, you are being rebuilt. The shift is occurring now and has been and will. You are being made anew. You have maybe lost everything along the way, even your old or former identity. Yeah. Yeah. Not a lawyer anymore, oops. Which no longer hinges on what you do for money, what you do for specific individuals, and what kind of car you drive. I actually like cars a lot, so that's why I threw that one in. I had to get over that one. So here's the juxtaposition here. You can follow your bliss and the universe will open doors where there were only walls, versus this one, and you choose. I think the person who takes a job in order to live, that is to say for the money, has turned oneself into a slave. Which do you want? I'm not saying money can't follow bliss. That's the whole point. It does. It does. Do what you love and the money follows. There's all kinds of great books out there, and Kelly teaches about it. Everybody up here has taught about it in their own way. So why to follow your bliss? Now, bliss, Joseph Campbell talks a lot about following your bliss, and it may be somewhat of a phrase that's used so much in the common vernacular even, I don't know, but I wanted to talk to you just a little bit about what that phrase really means and why, okay? And it may seem self-evident, but if you follow your bliss, you will put yourself on a kind of track that has been there all along waiting for you, and the life that you ought to be living is the one that you are living. So the bliss is what happens when you cultivate your calling, when you awaken to this journey. You need a sacred space. So I'm going to tell you just quickly how I think how you can get on this track to discerning your bliss. You need a sacred space, a space for uninterrupted reflection and unrushed creative work. You must have one. It's a cubby, it's a room, it's somewhere you call yourself, it's a side of the bed with your nightstand full of your books and journals, whatever it is for you. Do not lose yourself to the cowardice of the crowd, right, mold breakers? Kierkegaard. Do not lose your way to your bliss station as society's limiting notions of success peer pressure you into unimaginative and merely safe pursuits. No one in this room is going to do that. Let your life speak. Learn to recognize your own depths. That'll come through intuition. No one can really tell you, though. You got to go within, and grab it. Get comfortable with uncertainty, and I know my dear, dear, dear Susan Somerset Webb loves this quote by Rainier Rilke. I know she does. The willingness to live the questions. Live the questions, rather than reaching for the ready-made answers. Yeah? That's your divine download. Don't fall into the money trap, yeah? If you get on the bliss track to earn money, you have lost your life. If you stay on the bliss track and lose money, you still have your bliss. You'll never lose bliss. That's the great news. Go into nature. You've got to commune with nature in some way. It's really the heartbeat of the universe. It's the way to match your own heartbeat with the beat of the universe. It's going to help you discern your bliss. And also, Joseph Campbell talked a lot about art and music, okay? It really does cultivate the soul. So art is a set of wings to take you out of your own entanglement. Look at anything that, whatever resonates is calling your soul. Have a sense of humor. Humor will save you. Birds will dump on you. Don't brush it off. Getting a comedic view gives you spiritual distance. Having a sense of humor saves you, and trust me on that. You know it. You know it's true. No one in this world was ever before you with your particular gifts, abilities, and possibilities. Do not waste those by doing what someone else has done. And Kelly had this on her slide yesterday. The privilege of a lifetime is being who you are. That's Joseph Campbell, actually. Probably Peter Drucker had it in his book as well. Put yourself in situations and among people that evoke your higher nature. And you've all done that this weekend, okay? But it's really, really important. Kelly emphasizes it so much, your love tribe. That's people who evoke your higher nature. And you must do that. You must surround yourself with those that carry this point of view the best as possible. Those who evoke the best in you, and that's easy to determine. People who evoke the best in you doesn't mean that you're just hanging out with people who don't trigger you. They're actually people who evoke your higher nature. That's the truth. So our life evokes our character. It does. You find out about yourself as you go on. So this is the last slide, I think, one after this, and I just want to say what I think the greatest Western truth is, and Joseph Campbell said it so well. Each of us is completely unique, and if we're here to give any gift to this world, it will have to come out of our own experience and not fulfillment of our and the fulfillment, of our own potential, not someone else's. If there's nothing else you got from this weekend so far, it's about being your own human being, right? Amen. And the influence of a vital person vitalizes this world. That's the gift to the world. By you becoming a vital person, you will vitalize this world. Your energy will vibrate throughout this world in the most positive way. And the world without spirit is a wasteland, and we don't need that. Find your own inner truth in life and become alive yourself. When you discover your inner truth, you have the power to set your soul on fire and ignite the flame in others. Bless you all.